My name is Mary Losito, and my capstone project is on whether problem-based learning can improve students' self-efficacy, math anxiety, and communication skills within an alternative education setting. So the purpose of my project is that I have been working for alternative ed for the past 5 years, and I have seen the struggle with students unable to maintain their understanding from direct instruction. They take the notes, they do the practice, and then months later, they're like, yeah, I have no idea. Nope, don't remember at all. And over time, I've seen the more engaging and the more inquiry based a lesson has been, the longer it lasts within my students' brains and the more they get out of it. So I saw a need for a change because they were struggling so much. And more recently, this school year, I was moved up to the high school level. High school, there's a situation where students are unable to pass the Algebra 1 Regents exam because they don't have the understanding that they need in order to pass it. And from that, they can't graduate. So there's been a lot of students dropping out, and this is where my main purpose comes in now, is that I need to get them to understand this material and take ownership of this material in order to pass the Regents and in order to graduate. So from my literature review, I found 3 different themes. The first one was all about the academic achievement and the long-term understanding. So it's all about that material and, our students understanding better based on this instructional model versus others. The next theme was about the impact on a student's attitude, on their character, and on their social skills. And then finally, the impact it had on teachers' roles and responsibilities, which I have seen within my own math department, the struggle of getting teachers to buy into this model. So from my literature review and from all the research that I did, I found the following benefits. With this model of problem-based learning, they'll have long-term understanding. They will have higher levels of achievement. They will decrease their math anxiety, increase their self-efficacy. It encourages more effective communication, and finally promotes higher levels of curiosity. So all of these things are amazing, and I wanted to focus on all of them for my curriculum plan, but it wasn't feasible with the time frame and what we were working with here. So I focused on 3 of these. I chose to focus on the decrease of math anxiety, the increase of self-efficacy, and more effective communication. I found that these 3 things were especially important in the alternative education population, where I see the struggle with how anxious they get. I see that they don't really take ownership, they don't really believe in their abilities, and they hate talking about math. They just, they go in there, they're like, come on, I just want to be done with this. So encouraging those 3 things and testing that out in my curriculum plan. So what's this plan all about? Well, it's a 4-week supplemental curriculum plan that is based on equations. I chose equations because according to New York State Ed, 50 to 56% of the Algebra 1 Regents exam is on equations in some capacity. So I'm like, all right, if I target this, we've got it. So my curriculum plan is 4 weeks long, and there are 3 major math tasks. Now, within these math tests, it's the major component for the week, but there's also information activities that go along with it. Okay, we're going to focus on those main math tasks, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. You can see week 1, we've got the domino effect, which I'll get into. Week 2, the M&M 2 and 3, because it's a longer one. We got double back-to-back, the M&M mystery. And then finally, the final week of our curriculum plan here is, do Oreo cookies make sense? We're going to find out mathematically. And then with this curriculum plan, I'm assessing my students with a pre-assessment. I'm going to assess them throughout by observing them, listening to them, writing down things. Also, with the exit tickets, every single exit ticket has a question geared towards either self-efficacy, communication, or math anxiety. And then finally, after the entire plan is complete, they will take a post-assessment that is identical to their pre-assessment and see if there is growth. So the pre-assessment I created on Google Forms, and it contained 10 questions. The first 9 were a scale where 1 is very unlikely or they strongly disagree, and 5 is extremely likely and they strongly agree. And it was all questions based on self-efficacy, math anxiety, and communication. So I broke it down, and you can see the first 3 are self-efficacy questions, the next 3 are about math anxiety, and then the next 3 after that are communication. And then the final question, I wanted them to write a paragraph on their feelings, try to get a feel for how do you feel in math class, and what are things you like and dislike, and trying to gauge are any of those in regards to their communication, math anxiety, and self-efficacy. So once they completed the pre-assessment, we have begun. We are on week 1, the domino effect. The domino effect is one of my favorite activities found from Mathalicious. It is a website that math teachers can use that has activities, and it's all about creating equations in a real world context. So it's all about pizza. When you order a pizza from Domino's, they have a video that kicks it off. They show, okay, I'm going to get a medium pizza. I'm going to get pepperoni and onions on it. And then it adds up the total. And they're like, okay, where'd that number come from? Because they don't show the prices. They just show, oh, it's going into the cart. And then they give you a total amount. And students are just like, well, I'll just go on the website and I'll figure it out. I was like, not for this, you can't. So they had to use the information they were given to figure out what is the price of a pizza without any toppings on it, and then how much does each topping cost. And through that, they have to make an equation for any pizza. For any pizza that you could order, figure out how much it costs with this equation you create. And at the bottom here, you see I showed a general equation where P, the variable P is price, equals $1.99 T plus $10.99. So the $10.99 represents the base price of a pizza, and then that $1.99 T is showing each topping costs $1.99. I love this problem because it shows students the relationships between numbers and variables. Why are we multiplying? Well, why wouldn't we just add? So it gets in that mindset of like, we're going to talk about this, we're going to reason through this. Every time they make an equation after they take ownership of it. They see, okay, P is this, T is this, X is this. They understand that you have to name these variables and they mean something. It gives it context. So that's the domino effect. That was week 1. That's the main activity, and then there's activities that go along with it. Once we finish that, on to week 2 and 3 for the M&M mystery, which was created by myself, as well as a former classmate of mine from Nazareth College, as well as a former professor of mine from Nazareth College. So there was a grant that I participated in, funded by the American Institute of Mathematics. It was called the Rochester Math Teacher Circle, and we created a module known as the M&M Mystery. It starts out with, you have to again create an equation, so it bridges from domino effect into M&M mystery. So again, create an equation, but now they're solving. They have to know, how do you solve for a variable? Starts off easy, builds a foundation, and gets them all the way up to complex equations, which they have to do on the Regents exam. So I love this because a lot of them don't have the background knowledge and the foundation they need. So it gives it to them, builds them up, and they're able to be successful on complicated equations because they got the foundation. So M&M mystery, You got videos, again, just like the domino one, but there's multiple videos this time that we created. You got a big jar of M&Ms, starts with it splitting into 2 jars, then 3, then it's not splitting. It's a little bit in here and then the rest in here. Show the differences between operations, then you add on, okay, we're going to do not only adding and subtracting, we're going to do dividing and multiplying combo, 2-step equation. And then we get into the multi-step. In this 2 to 3 week time, students have to make their own M&M mystery project. They don't have to use M&Ms. They can create their whole scenario, and it allows them to build that self-efficacy, take ownership of what you're doing. It forces them to talk because they got to be in a group, and hopefully it makes them less anxious because they're not in a typical math setting. Some students that struggle with, social anxiety, though, that can be tough for them. So that is week 2, 3. On to the final week. We've got to Oreo cookies make sense. Well, this comes from Math Made Possible. It's another website like Mathlicious, where this is the culmination. We bring it all together. We've got creating equations, we've got solving equations, and finally, they are going to reason with equations. Do Oreo cookies make sense? They're going to answer that. So with this, I love this problem because, again, you give context to variables. This is all about the new Oreo product of the triple double Oreo, where it kind of reminds me of a Big Mac in terms of an Oreo. You got the 3 wafers and then 2 things of cream. It's all stuck together like a big sandwich. And students have to analyze the weight, the calories, and the cost. And through that, they have to solve systems of equations, which are very challenging for my students. Finding the value of more than one variable and making meaning out of it. So that is week 4, kind of brings it all together. Once you conclude with week 4, you have the post assessment, and as well as those assessments of the observations and the exit ticket feedback that I got from them. So based on the assessments, my results were that all students, every single one of my students, maintained or improved their rating on self-efficacy and communication questions. So where the scaling that they did, they either stayed at the same number that they picked, or they went to a higher number where they went up. And again, that's their opinion. It comes from their feelings. But that I found as a win. Unfortunately, in terms of math anxiety, 12% of students actually increased in terms of their math anxiety, whereas we have the 88%, they decreased or maintained. So they didn't change in terms of their anxiousness, or they actually did, where they would go lower on the scale. And finally, I have some key comments from students. First one, talking about how they're having fun in math now. The next one, they're understanding more. And then finally, I hate that we have to talk and think so much in math now. So showing that communication piece, they don't like it. And then showing that they're thinking about what they're doing rather than just kind of like copying down notes. Which is good, but they don't really seem to like it very much. So my conclusion is that the majority of students benefited from this new instructional model. We see on the assessment results that, they maintained or grew. Only the few, the 12% there that gained on their math anxiety, which I just want to mention is extremely significant in this population because it is harder to see growth. It takes a long time. So in a 4-week time frame, it's pretty significant. I can conclude this is not the right model for all because we're all different. There's not going to be one set model that works for everyone, which leads me to the balance idea, where I really believe further research should be about finding that right combination that allows all students to be successful or the majority to be successful. So does it include direct instruction a little bit and problem-based learning a little bit, and finding that combination and that ideal, creation for a math classroom. So that's my capstone project. Now you'll see all my resources, 4 slides worth because I couldn't fit them all. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.